Thank you so much for joining, and you're welcome. And it's about to be a beautiful, wonderful conversation this evening. I'm particularly happy that we're getting to do this. It's our first webinar, and you get to have the first, your first participant, and you're the first person that's going to experience webinar from Crosstie Solutions, and I'm your host for today. So we're going to be running you through, the topic and then question and answer. But before we get there, let's talk about Crosstie Solutions. I mean, some of you get to just register. You don't know who the company is or whoever is hosting this, but this is from Crosstie Solutions, and we're people development and management consulting organization. And we've decided that we want to help organizations and professionals to thrive. And what in the process of doing that, we have professional trainings, leadership, customer experience, and several things like that. We also thought that it would be nice to bring a monthly teachings, or should I say learning, because one thing we stand for in Crosstie Solution is transformation. And we decided that, okay, let's give back to the community by giving a free webinar to every professional across different levels. And that's why we're doing this today. And I'm so excited to be here, and I hope you are too. So let's get to why we're here. Today, we thought about what's one thing that cut across everybody, whether you're in finance, you're in health, you're in business, you're in consulting, whatsoever, organization or industry you are in. What's one thing that you have to experience? And even if you're a business person, there's one thing that you need to know to do well in life, to be honest. We thought about it, and one thing stood out, which is emotional intelligence. I said some couple of minutes earlier, I posted on my LinkedIn that this, I posted a post rather, and people were just blew up. People had a lot to say, and do you know why? Because it's tied to emotional intelligence, and it's something that is really common. A lot of people have heard about it, but there are two parts that can be dicey, and we really want to zoom into it this evening, which is empathy and social skills. And then we thought about it. If we're going to be talking about empathy and social skills, who can we bring to talk about this? It's no other person that our facilitator this evening. If you've been in, I've been in training sessions, training rooms, and, different rooms with this particular person, and I've heard his perspective on this issue, and it's just so amazing. It's so amazing. And I'm just going to let you in on who Adebayo is for some before you get to meet him. So Adebayo Adegun Industries and Sectors. He is the CEO and lead partner at Crosstie Solutions. He is best known, for his ability to distill complex, leadership challenges into practical solutions that delivers measurable results. He has trained and coached different people at different levels, from directors to, entry levels, from in different institutions like the CBN, DMO, NDIC, TVC, several petroleum like Seplat, Lagos State, Ike Electric, all of them. And there's one thing that Adebayo is known for, is that he's a prolific facilitator and a thought leader. So that he's going to be our facilitator tonight. And for us to bring him, just know that you're in for a ride, and it's going to be an interesting session. So please, if you have to pick a note, please get one. If you have to, put other things aside and pay attention, because I can promise you're going to enjoy this session. So please, we are not standing, so we cannot do it, standing ovation, but we can use our reactions. The chat box is there, the reactions. Please, let's welcome him. He's going to be sharing to us from his wealth of knowledge. And one thing we should always do is to appreciate that, because we're not paying him. We brought him from all the way. So please, thank you so much. I can see your claps. Let's keep doing that while we open the floor for Adebayo. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for that welcome. And good evening to you all. Please, if you can hear me, say hi to me in the chat box. If you can hear me, please say hi to me in the chat box. Let me know that yes, we are communicating and we are talking. Okay, okay. So I can see a lot of hi in the chat box. Amazing, amazing. Yes, just like Ademide said, we're in for a beautiful ride. The destination, I don't even know what the destination is going to look like, but I know that we're all going to get to that destination. And trust me, the journey we're going on right now, it's a journey of transformation. There will be several trainings. I mean, emotional intelligence is one of the most common topics that you can talk about today. You see it everywhere. And you know why? We can't talk more about it. We can't talk less about it, rather. We have to keep talking about it every time. If you recall, about 2, 3 years ago, there was this CEO of a bank, I think I've forgotten the African country right now. But unfortunately, when I did my very deep research about him, he was or he is a Nigerian, right? And what I noticed was that in that particular video, and I'm sure some of you probably saw it on the internet, he got he actually lost it in a few seconds, where he missed it by throwing an object on one of his employees, and the employee started bleeding. And the employee, I mean, you know where we are right now, it's the age of social media. The employee immediately brought out his phone and started capturing that moment to say, hey, see what my boss did to me, see what my boss did to me, see what my boss did to me. And then it was trending on all various social media platforms. That was about 2, 3 years ago. Now, so for me, guess what I did? I actually took the name of the person and I took it to LinkedIn. And when I placed it on LinkedIn, and that was even where I saw that, oh, he is a Nigerian. Not only that he is a Nigerian, but I also saw that he has attended, in fact, one of the best business schools around the world on this same subject, emotional intelligence. He has gone to do a lot of executive, I mean, for somebody to be a CEO of a tier one bank, right? So you can definitely know that the level of executive education that he would have actually witnessed. He's been to so many places. He has done, in fact, I'm sure that the founding father of emotional intelligence, which is Dale Coleman, would have probably taught him on that same subject. But despite all of the trainings, despite all of the learnings, in just 5 seconds, he lost it. And it was trending. He lost it by throwing an object on one of the sales manager rather, and then he lost it. So you can imagine. So why am I saying this? I'm trying to tell us today that we are all students of this topic, emotional intelligence. So if someone who has gone to some of the best business schools around the world on the subject emotional intelligence could still miss it in just 5 minutes, then whenever you see this topic, even after this webinar, if you should see another program tomorrow on this same subject, emotional intelligence, please do attend it, right? We cannot exhaust the conversation around emotional intelligence. Every day we keep learning, unlearning and relearning the fundamentals to be able to manage our emotions and manage it very well. So, well, again, welcome to this session, and we're going to have a great time. But before I go into this, I want to ask a very quick question, which is a reflection for all of us at the moment right now. And I want you to use the chat box, right? And the question is what you're seeing on the board here, which is, how are you feeling right now? Please be free, right? Share with me in the chat box. How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling right now? Excited? Good? A bit down? It's okay. It's okay, right? It's okay to feel that way. Whatever way you're feeling right now, feel free to share with us. How are you feeling right now? We're going to come back to this, but I want to hear from you. How are you feeling right now? Okay. I'm feeling great. Somebody says, I'm feeling excited. Okay, every day says, I'm feeling excited. Adeno says, I'm feeling great. Okay, interesting. Who else again? Okay, Selena says, expectant. Okay, interesting. Who else again? How are you feeling at the moment? How are you feeling at the moment? Feel free to chat with us. Feel free to drop your comment in the chat box and let us know how you're feeling at the moment. Optimistic, Buluwatife says there. I'm curious, Sharon says. Or I feel curious, Sharon says there. Who else again? How do you feel at the moment? Let me get one or two other persons to share with us. How are you feeling at the moment? How are you feeling at the moment? Share with us. Let us know how you're feeling at the moment. Sharon says, I feel curious as well. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, okay. All right. What if I tell you what, irrespective of how you feel, you can see what you have on the screen are different emotions, right? What if I tell you that it's okay to feel that way? It's okay to feel whatever way you feel. That you're down, you're up, you're feeling excited. You don't even know how you're feeling, right? It's okay to feel that way. But you know why? Why I've asked that question is that resolving or fixing whatever emotions that you're feeling is number one. The most important thing is that you are able to put a label on your emotions. Disappointed, happy, excited, sad, curious, whatever way, exhausted, worried, whatever way you are feeling, it's actually okay to feel that way. But most importantly, is that you are aware about the way you're feeling. Because until you are aware about the way you're feeling, can you begin to actually fix it? If you don't know how you feel, if you cannot put a name or a title or a label to how you feel, then it becomes important, or it becomes difficult rather, for you to be able to fix it. So if you feel it, if you know how you're feeling, then it's much more easier for you to then understand the factors and ingredients that has made you feel the same way you're feeling. So what am I trying to say here? Our five sense organs, and I'm sure a lot of us have been in that situation before, where you have what you call the mood swing, right? We've all been there before. Where right now I was feeling so well, and in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling good. My body, my energy is just down. If you can trace back to how it started, I can tell you that yes, if you pay close attention, your five sense organs is exactly the cause of it. In psychology, there is something we call anchoring. You know what anchoring is? Anchoring or anchors are sets of emotions unconsciously instilled in us. At the recurrence of that same event, whatever emotion is attached to it, good or bad, will be recalled back to life. Let me take that again for those who probably did not hear that. What do we call an anchor? An anchor is their set of emotions or one particular emotion unconsciously instilled in us. At the recurrence of the event, that is, whatever event that led to you feeling the way you were feeling, at the occurrence of that same event, whatever emotion that has been attached to that same event would definitely come back to life. So let me ask you a question, and I want you to use the chat box right now. I'm sure we've all been in a situation where you saw something, you ate something, you felt something, you tasted something, or you smelled something, and instantly your emotions change. Please, if you have felt that way before, please say yes to me in the chat box. Where you saw something, you felt something, you saw something, you tasted something, you heard something, and instantly your emotions change. Yes, Boluwatife says yes, yes. Sheol says yes, 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 yes. Exactly. We've all been there before. Now, whatever you saw, whatever you heard, whatever you smelt, whatever you felt, whatever you tasted, that is what is called anchor. That is what is called anchor. So anchor are those emotions that you don't know it even exists in you at the moment. But when that event would happen, immediately that event happened, the emotion attached to that particular event will be recalled back to life. And I've been there several times. And that's why we say we are all students of emotional intelligence. So whatever you're feeling right now, first of all, what is important is that you are able to put a label into it. So now, how would you now define emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence for me is the fact that your ability to be able to even identify the emotions of how you feel and the feelings of others also around you. I take that again. Emotional intelligence is the ability to be self-aware about your own emotions and the emotions of others, which is going to be our focus for today. Our focus for today is going to be on empathy and also on social skills, just like Adebayo said to us earlier. So the conversation here about emotional intelligence is that ability to identify your own emotion, to be aware about your emotion, and to be aware about the emotions of others. If you don't pay close attention to the emotions of others, sometimes you might actually be saying certain things, but you are saying it at the wrong time. Sometimes, if you're not paying close attention to other people's feeling, you might actually even want to correct someone, but the correction is not the right time at that moment. So, if you are not sensitive to the emotions of others, then we'll rate you in terms of emotional intelligence as low. But that's why we're here, to learn, to relearn, and also to unlearn. So, let's move forward. The question is, when these things happen to us, are you reacting or are you responding? Are you reacting or are you responding? Now, let me tell you something that happens, which is very, very important, is that there is something in emotional intelligence, or there's a framework that we call the TTFR model. Please take note of that. TTFR model. What does T stands for? The first T is your trigger. The first T is your trigger. The second T is your thoughts. Your thoughts. Your thoughts. The next one is your F, which is what? Your feeling. Your feeling. And the last one is your R, which is what? Your reaction or your response. Now, let me now break it down for you. The first one I said is the T, and I call it what? Trigger. What is a trigger? A trigger is an unplanned situation. You could just be going on your way today right now to somewhere, and a security guard somewhere will talk to you rudely. You could be in Lagos traffic or Lagos, and then a downfall driver will just hit you. You could even be inside the bus, and then the bus conductor will speak to you rudely. You could be going right now, home right now, and your boss would shout at you. So it's an unplanned situation. That is what you call a trigger. It's something that you don't have control over. I'm sure if we had, or if you are aware that, oh, as I'm going to work today, my boss is going to shout at me, I am very sure that your response to the situation will be quite different as against when you did plan for it. So because you did not plan for it, that's why a lot of times we respond in a way that we later regret. Now let's go to the next one, which is a feeling. Now there's something magical that happens between the thoughts and the feelings. And guess what that is? Psychology has said that what? It takes about 6 seconds. I repeat again, 6 seconds between your thoughts and your feelings. That is immediately your thoughts and your trigger and your thought, rather, between your trigger and your thought. Because immediately you think, immediately the trigger happens, whatever thought process is attached to that same trigger is exactly what will determine how you are going to feel, and is also going to determine how you are going to respond to that situation. So you know why? I always say that the most important thing in that framework is your thought process. It might sound very easy, but it's actually the most difficult. Is that whatever the situation comes in, can we attach a positive thought even if it's a negative situation? And a practical example, like I said, is that a security guard talked to you rudely. A negative experience would be that, oh, you, a security guard, spoke to me rudely, and then you could begin to shout, which is now your feeling and then your response. A positive thought to that same trigger could be that, oh, wow, maybe this guy had a bad night. Maybe this guy had not eaten all day. Maybe I don't even been paid a salary for the past 3 months. Maybe there is other struggle, another thing he's actually battling with. That is a positive thought to the same trigger. But trust me, what I've said here is not easy, right? in a lot of situations, you are most likely going to be tilting towards the negative trigger over the positive one. But that's why we're here, self-awareness. If I'm aware that this is a trigger, I can be much more prepared on how I'm going to respond to it. And that's what you have on your screen right now. What do you have on your screen? What you have there is that there is a trigger, and when the trigger happens, immediately you react. And when you react, what most of us will always do is that we find ourselves in unwanted outcomes. Have you ever asked yourself what it takes a man and a woman who once professed, I love you to each other, will pick up a knife one day to stab one another? I mean, today is no longer a man stabbing a woman now. We've had situations where a woman is also stabbing a man at the moment, right? Have you ever asked yourself, what has gone wrong to that extreme that would then pick up a knife to stab us? And guess what happened? In just about 5 seconds, he's remorseful about his actions. Oh, wow, what did I do? Oh, I made it wrong. Oh, I could have done it better. He's actually now remorseful about that reaction. Do you think that if he had played out well in his head to say, if I stab this woman, I'm going to be on the front page of the newspaper as a murderer. I'm going to spend my life in jail or also die by hanging. I'm going to be sentenced to death by hanging. I'm going to embarrass my family. I'm going to lose my life. Do you think if there were thought process around the outcome of his reaction, do you think he will still proceed to do the same thing? I doubt, except maybe somebody in a very depressed state will probably be in that situation. But if not, he will probably not do that. Which is the next diagram that you have below you there, which is that when the trigger happens, can we be very conscious about pause? Pause. Whenever the trigger happens that you didn't plan for, the bus conductor spoke to you rudely, your boss spoke to you, whatever situation, when the trigger happens, can we be very much deliberate about being just pause? You know what you're trying to do when you pause? Let me explain to you from a psychological standpoint. You see the brain that you have here, right? There's something we call the emotional brain and the thinking brain. My exposure and academic work that I've done when it comes to organization psychology and managerial psychology has exposed me to some of those teachings that I'm actually having here with you today. When you receive things, our emotional brain is actually very close to our ear and our eyes. And our thinking brain is right there at the middle. If you're looking at your screen right now, you probably see this. You probably see the part of my head that I'm actually holding. This is part of you where you have your thinking brain. But your emotional brain is somewhere here and is somewhere here. That is why when you see things and you hear things, you immediately do what? You react. But now, I always say this. The greatest gift you can give to yourself as a man, when I say man, human, I mean, is ability to switch off your emotional brain and switch on your thinking brain. Do you know why? Because your thinking brain will think through the consequences of the actions even before doing it. Now, what is the magic? How do you switch off your emotional brain, which most times you immediately react, and then you find yourself saying certain things or doing certain things that you later regret? And I'm sure a lot of us, including myself, we have all been in that situation before where we said something or we did something that a few minutes later we're like, oh, maybe I should have done better. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, right? We've all been there before. Now, the only magic to switching off your emotional brain and switching on your thinking brain is the ability to pause. Just pause. When you pause, what you do is that you shut down your emotional brain and you switch on your thinking brain. In that situation, you are no longer reacting, but you are responding. So I'm sure we've gotten it clear. The difference between reacting and also responding. You react to that situation, you respond rather to that situation as against reacting to that situation. And the only magic is that you pause. When you pause, look at it, what we are recommending for you. Take a deep breath. Some persons, they will prefer to walk away from the scene. Some persons, they will even listen to music. Whatever it is that works for you as human. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is exactly what works. And that's what I used to say, that we're all students of emotional intelligence. Do you know why? Because you need to pay close attention to your body. What is your body telling you? How do you feel? Immediately you know that you have gotten to that threshold where you are about to say something or do something that you might later regret, the answer is pause, walk away, do something to distract you, then come back to respond. A lot of times when you respond to that situation, you are going to have a favorable outcome. If you're learning something, please say yes to me in the chat box. If you're learning something, please say yes to me in the chat box. Let me know that yes, we're all together here. If you're learning something from all we've discussed so far, please say yes to me in the chat box. Let me know we're communicating. Thank you so much. Thank you for the feedback. Yes. I can see that. Thank you so much for that feedback. Okay, let's continue. So, according to Donnacoma model, it talks about the 5 major components of emotional intelligence, and I'm just going to run through it very briefly. Number 1 is self-awareness. Know yourself. Know thyself. Know your triggers. Know your threshold. My threshold might not be your own threshold. So you see what I said earlier about you, person. My threshold. Someone might say something to you, and it's okay with you. But they might say it to me, and it might be my own trigger. So the most important thing is, are you even aware about your own threshold? Are you aware about your triggers? If you're aware about it, then it helps you to solve that problem. The second one is self-regulation. It's the second one, but it's the most important one for me. Personally, for me, Adebayo Adegun, I always say out of the 5 components of emotional intelligence, I feel strongly that self-regulation is the most important. Because you are human, right? I am not a facilitator that will tell you, no, hide your emotion, don't express your emotion, and you can keep it. No, I'm not going to stand here and advise you to do such. You are human. You have blood and water running through your vein. So it's okay sometimes to express your emotions. But the most important part is that as you express your emotions, know when to stop. Know when to stop. Know when you have gotten to that threshold where you are about to say something or do something that you might later regret. Know thy threshold. Because if you know your threshold, it helps you to self-regulate. Let's go to the third one, self-motivation. I always say today, especially in a country like Nigeria, from sunrise to sunset, there is actually nothing motivating you as an individual. You read through the front page of the newspaper, it's all breaking news every time. And what are those breaking news doing? They are breaking our hearts. They are demoralizing us. They are not even giving us any energy to keep on going across the day. So I've always said, find something that motivates you and stay on it. Whatever it is, intrinsic or extrinsic, make sure that you focus on it and let that be your source of motivation. Self-motivation is very key. We are in a society that will constantly want to demotivate you. You scroll through your social media pages, and then all you keep seeing is not just things that will even elevate your emotions. So you have to be intentional. Whatever it is that gives you that energy, stay on it and continuously water it. The fourth one and the fifth one, which is going to be our focus for today, is empathy, right? And what is empathy? Empathy simply means ability to put yourself in people's shoe. In fact, I usually say that empathy, I define empathy as ability to put myself in someone's shoe, feel what they are feeling before I make them to feel what I want them to feel. I take that again. Ability to feel what others are feeling before I make them to feel what I want them to feel. So I want you to feel certain way. I want you to do certain thing. But first, am I going to put myself in your shoe to even feel what you're feeling? And that's simply what you call empathy. And the last one is social skills, which I'm sure we're going to still talk about very much well. Social skills is very important. I mean, this is not a sales class, but I usually tell people in sales session to say, in the future of work, which is now, in another 5, 10 years from now, your relationship capital, your social capital will become a big asset for you, even when you even attend interview sessions. Who do you know? What's the quality of your relationship that you have with people? Some persons are quite very transactional in thinking. It's about what they want to get from people and not what they are also willing to share with people. So if you're on this call and you want to build your social skills, the first place to start is to ask the question, what am I willing to give to people? What am I willing to give to people that has no return to me? If you're willing to serve, if you're ready to serve others, you are going to build lasting relationship. And today, relationship is the currency. Who you know and what you know is actually the currency for you. So social skills is very, very important when it comes to emotional intelligence. So, and that's what we said, that's what we're going to be focusing on today. For mid-level professionals who are on this call, if you're a manager in your organization, team lead supervisors and all of that, I want to tell you this today, that emotional intelligence is actually much more important to you. In fact, if you check my profile on LinkedIn, my focus personally is that to continuously help mid to senior professionals on how they can drive performance through people and through culture. I'm actually passionate about the mid-level people you have in the organization. You know why? Because I think they are actually at the middle where they are managing people at the top and they're also managing people down as well too. Remember, leadership today is not about somebody up and managing people down. That's why today we have leading up, leading across, and also leading down as well. So what do we have here? Managing people that are up. You need a very good level of emotional intelligence, a very good relationship skills for you to be able to manage your boss. I don't want to ask some questions here, but I know that we have people who, I mean, it's a good thing because I've been there before, where you are able to manage your boss. Again, the word is manage your boss and not change your boss. So if you're on this call with me, or if you're listening to me, or if you're watching this video, you want to start by managing your boss and not changing your boss. If you're trying to change your boss, you're going to get frustrated. And the frustration is going to be more on you as an individual. So the word is manage your boss. And when I say manage your boss, it's either you are proactive or you are reactive. But I would rather choose that you are more proactive. So when I say proactive, I mean, you look at the boss that you are managing, you profile them. Who are they? What is their work style? What's their leadership style? What's their personality style? What drives them? What kind of person are they? When you profile your boss very well, it helps you to significantly manage them so well. And I give you a typical example. I've worked in an organization before where in my first week joining that organization, a lot of people came to me and said, hey, we have a boss here who does not receive feedback, who does not do this, who does not do that. It's very authoritative. It tells you what to do. You don't even ask questions and all of that. I have a choice, either to be proactive or to be reactive. Did I witness that during my first few weeks in the organization? Of course I witnessed that. I witnessed where we come to meeting and it's you go here, you do this, you do that. There is no room for feedback. It's constantly always telling people what to do. So I looked at him and I said, okay, I studied him very well. First of all was to even understand his personality. He's a deep personality, a strong, ego, authoritative personality. Okay, So if I'm going to approach him, I'm not going to approach him from a place of authority. I'm going to approach him from a place of suggestion or recommendation. But guess what I did, and which is what we are talking about here today, social skills. I placed close attention to his emotions. My office was right there adjacent to his office. So any day I'm coming to the office, any day I'm going into my own office, and his office is always open. Hey, if I say, good morning, sir, he say, hey, good morning, Bayo. I will just go straight into my office on those days. On days where I go to his office or a day when I'm passing through, and I say, good morning, sir, and say, hey, Bayo, how you doing? I immediately rush to his office to give him all of the feedback that I want to give to him. But guess what? In most cases, when I do use that particular style, he literally usually would accept or listen to my recommendations. But you see, on those days where I say good morning, and in fact, sometimes he will not even look at me, he will just do his hand this way. Morning, morning, morning. For me, I just know it's not a good time. And I don't even go for that to even ask any further question. So the point is, when you are trying to manage your boss, please pay close attention to who they are, their emotions, their personality, because that's the only way you can manage them. If not, you're going to keep getting frustrated every time in trying to manage them. Let's go to the second one. The second one is manage sideways, which is your colleagues, your peers. You have to learn how to manage them. Remember again, it's about, for this kind of people, it's your relationship with them. If I ask you a question, for some of us who are engaged, who are employed, if I ask you a question around, there's somebody in your office, say for example, closing time is 5 p.m. And then somebody brings a work to you around 4 p.m. For you to help them to review. It's your colleague, right? But that review will literally take you about 2 hours for you to review it. About 2 hours. So that means you're going to stay in the office extra 1 hour because you want to assist that colleague. So I'm going to come to the chat box to ask you a question shortly. So please listen to this story that I'm about to share, or this scenario that I'm about to share with you. So, and then you go to that person to say, hey, please, can you help me review this? In the organization, there is an interdepartmental SLA that says, oh, you can respond to him in 24 hours or even in 48 hours. So that means HR is not going to give you any query to say you didn't respond to this request in 48 hours. And the person says, okay, thank you very much. Send it via email to me. I will respond to you. Send it via email. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, the same scenario. Closing time 5 p.m. You have something to review, and you take it to employee B. That was employee A, now employee B. Employee B says, oh, okay, do you know what? Okay, no problem. Please drop it. Let me quickly look at it. Oh, because of you, right? No worry. I'll look at it for you. And then the person jumps on it to help you to review it and ensure that you meet up with the deadline to submit that same work that same day. What do you think has played out in the 2 scenarios? Can anybody please tell me? What do you think has played out in the scenario 1 and scenario 2? You can use the chat box or you can unmute yourself to talk to us. What do you think has played out? The first one says, oh, follow the SLA, send it via email, I'll respond to you in 24, 48 hours. The second one says, okay, because of you, don't worry, I'll help you to get this thing done. What do you think has played out in that scenario? Who want to share with us? Who want to share with us? Who want to share with us? What do you think has played out in that scenario? What do you think? What has made the difference in that scenario? You can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can drop your comment in the chat box for us.
Hi.
Hi, Sharon. Please go ahead.
Okay, so what I understand has played out in both scenarios is that for the second person, the person has been able to manage or have a good relationship with his colleague, like in terms of social skills, right? But maybe the first person hasn't. I don't know if that's it, or like in terms of relationships.
Relationship, right? Awesome. Thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing your thought with us. Who else again? Who else again would like to share? Hi, Monica.
Sorry. I have a question. So I understand what you're trying to say, and I totally am with you. To manage relationship, we should build that sort of rapport with them. But what I'm confused about is how do you manage boundaries? Because you can't always give in to people's demands at work because you have your personal boundaries as well to manage.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, Monica. Thank you for that. I'm going to answer that shortly as well. Right. So, the first one of what has played out in a typical scenario, oh, please, I need to kindly help me do this and all of that. It's okay, right? And then you're going to stay for another extra 1 hour to help you to do. Of course, what has played out is the level of relationship. And that relationship is because you've been there for me at a point. Remember, the word was, oh, because of you, don't worry, I got your back. I got you. I'm going to help you to do this, right? And then for that relationship within you, the person is willing to say extra 1 hour to help you to get the job done. Now, going back to the question that Monica has, brilliant question, is the fact that setting up boundaries. In fact, you reminded me of my time as an employee because people usually call me um, close of business. COB is what they call me. And you know why they call me close of business? Because for every conversation you want to have with me on personal issues or whatever it is, I'm not going to give you my time during that period. I'm only allowed to give you my time after close of business. So people said, oh, if you want to see Adebayo, if you want to have any conversation with him, just ensure that it's close of business. Now, in this particular situation, boundaries are definitely meant to be set. Of course, you have to set boundaries. And the boundaries have to be set so that people know that, oh, I can't just jump into you. I also have emergencies and I have things that I need to do. I can't just jump into you and then you just want to disrupt my itinerary for the day. No, I don't think that's acceptable terms in any organization. But for example, if this situation had been that I'd pre-informed you to say, hey, I'm working on something. I'm going to be done by that time. I want to check in with you and see if you can help me to do this. And there has been that conversation between both parties earlier, and the person comes to you that point in time to say, please help me to do this. I'm sure the level of relationship that you have with that person would help you to say, okay, because of you, I'm willing to help you. But again, the boundary conversation again will still take you to the fact that because there is no existing relationship, which is what I mentioned earlier, that a lot of people are transactional in thinking. It's about the workplace, we get a job done, I don't build relationship, let's just do the job and just go. And it's okay to do that way, but it will later affect your growth in organization. And I say this boldly and confidently because I've sat in rooms before where I see major CEOs make decisions. And when they make decisions, it's all about good relationships. Sometimes you go beyond that level. And that's why if you have looked at this thing we call the quotients of growth and career growth, there's a point where IQ becomes very important for you. Know the job, do the job well, be very good at what you do. There's a point where emotional intelligence becomes very important for you, which is what we are discussing here today. There is a point where political quotient or political intelligence becomes very important for you, and which is what we are talking about here today, social skills. So it becomes important as you keep growing through the career ladder in any organization to be intentional about building relationship. So yes, I set boundaries. I'm not just going to allow anybody to walk into my office, but I'm also open to help people. I'm also open to provide assistance when it's convenient for me. I can't have an emergency to meet up with and you bring up a work at 4 p.m. and you think I'm going to extend another stay. Of course, I'm going to prioritize myself and I'm going to prioritize what is important for me as well. At the same time, if I know that I have the time to support you in work, in what you do, we're trying to build a collaborative workforce. Yes, I should also be willing to also provide that assistance to you as necessary when due and when I'm also very much available. Okay, I see your thumbs up there, Monica. Thank you for that. So, managing your peers, relationship is very important. in any organization. I usually would say, for an entry-level person in an organization, if you come to work and you say, good morning, it's okay. Of course, at that point in time, focus on your job. Do your job. That's what is important to you. But as you keep growing through the career ladder where you are now the mid-level, which is our focus for today, mid-level professionals, I usually would say, and this is my own personal opinion, it could be unacceptable if you are not intentional about building relationship. It's the key, is the foundation for everything. Remember again, you are leading people. You are managing people up, you are leading people down. And what I've really learned when it comes to the word leadership, we say leadership is influence. How can you influence someone you don't have relationship with? Is it possible? I don't think so. How can you influence someone you continuously antagonize? Is it possible? I don't think so. So you can see that relationship building is the foundation for any mid-level professional in any organization. Let's go to the last one. People downwards, direct reports, project teams. What is expected from you when it comes to emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence for them is the level of also relationship, and that's exactly what I just explained earlier, is that you cannot lead people that you don't have relationship with. Social skills is very important. And what do we call social skills? Social skills is synonymous to political intelligence, which is that I'm able to understand the people that I lead, the people that I manage, and relate with them based on who they are, because I want to get results from them. Remember in leadership that you are not responsible for the job that you are doing, but you are responsible for those who are actually doing the job. I take that again. You are actually responsible not for the job, but you are responsible for those who are doing the job. So if you don't build relationship with your direct report, with your subordinate, with your project team, if you say, no, I don't need to build a relationship with them, it's all about work. And trust me, some of us are wired that way. It's about the task every point in time. We have not been intentional to even get to know the people that we lead, that we manage. It's very important. This is where people spend their active hours, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 as the case may be. Please, it's very important for you as a mid-level professional to be intentional about building relationship. I put up a post on LinkedIn some few days ago where I said, even in starting your tax meeting, it's not just to jump straight into your tax. A little trivia, a little joke around the room, a little conversation, a little comment, a little gist could help to simplify, could help to bring out the creative juice in the people in the room. Relationship building is very, very important for you as a mid-level professional. And that's exactly what takes us to the last one, which is on empathy. The ability to recognize and understand others' motivation, which is essential for building and leading teams successfully. I'm sure you've heard about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs very well, right? Where at that point in time, what is important for everyone keeps changing as they keep growing in their career. We need to understand what is important, which is going to be the output or the outcome of your relationship with them. That guy who has been on your team, who wants to start his master's program, when was the last time you checked in with him to ask him, how far without your master's program? Have you picked up the phone? That lady who had issue with her landlord at home, when was the last time you probably checked in? You might not even provide the financial assistance, but just showing concern, just being there, just supporting them, just by talking to them. In fact, in my world or in my cap as a coach, what I've seen countless times, when people come to even have conversation or coaching session with you, they actually know the solution to the problem. But guess what they need? They just need someone to talk to. They just need someone to engage. So, are you that boss who is willing, who is ready to actually listen to people, to empathize with people, to understand what is important to them, to have conversation with them around work. A lot of times for some of us as leaders, every conversation we have with our subordinates is always related to work. There is nothing personal. But again, understand that you're dealing with humans. The age or the era where leadership used to be my space, my authority, my seat, I'm the person in charge. So every one of you have no choice than to follow me. That era is over. The era that we have right now is that you are leading people, you are managing people, you are helping them to discover their potential, you are helping them to become successful, you are helping them to thrive within the workplace. And you can only do that if you are also very much intentional about building relationship with them. And that was what we asked there. When was the last time you showed empathy at work? And what difference did you make? You will notice that if you are intentional about building relationship with people, people will also be there for you. They will turn up for you at the point in time. But if there is no relationship, I'm sure nobody's going to care for you as well. I'm going to end with this story. And it's a story about this. I was facilitating a session on leadership and emotional intelligence for an organization. This was a bank. And this lady shared a story with us. And she said, oh, I can completely relate with what you're saying, Adebayo. A few years ago, I used to work in an organization. I'm an asthmatic patient, and I had my crisis within the banking hall. And then I fell down. And when that issue happened, I was rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, my line manager, which is my branch head, wasn't around. He was on a training. Guess what? She even said he was on a leadership training somewhere in Abuja, and this happened in Lagos. So when he came back, he asked everyone and said, oh, where is this lady? And they said, oh, she's not around. She had a crisis, and then she's been away for about 2 days right now. And guess what? The guy picked up the phone to call the lady, and the first thing she asked is, please, we have a presentation this morning. Please, where's the report? I'm sure you are probably wondering, what kind of person is that? Someone had a crisis, and the first time you are going to speak to them is to ask about the report. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the report is not important. Of course, the report might. In fact, it might even have also a higher authority that needs that same report, right? And probably has been asked, where's the report for that presentation? But the first thing to show is empathy. Why couldn't he have asked, how are you? How are you doing? Who is there with you? What is the doctor saying? What is the report saying? The report, report, the diagnosis report. What is it saying? Is there somebody there with you to take care of you? How are you feeling right now? And after showing that level of concern, you can then go further to even ask, if necessary, to say, remember we have a deadline today to submit a report. Is there anywhere on your system? Is there any place I can find it to? But what you have shown in that type of communication is that you have put the person first before the work. But when you go to ask about the report first, that means you have put the work over the person. And the lady said, he said, after that day, when I resumed back to work at 5 p.m., I would never give 1 extra minute again to that organization, because it clearly shows from that conversation, the organization does not care about me. They only care about the work. If I've dropped dead within the banking hall, the organization would have definitely moved on. So I'm going to prioritize myself, my health, and everything about me over the organization. Would you blame such lady for such response? Absolutely no. You would not blame her for such response. And that is why it's important that for us as leaders, empathy should come first. Understand what people are going through. Understand their emotions. When you see certain energies down, inquire further. Ask questions. Oh, I see lately that your energy has been down. Is there something you want to share with me? Is there something, what's going wrong? I see you have been down. Are you fine? I mean, those little questions. A lot of times, the response you are going to get as managers or as leaders is, no, I'm very fine, sir. I'm okay, madam. I'm okay. That's the response you're going to get, right? And sometimes you can even pester further to even ask them, can we meet one-on-one and discuss this and all of that? That shows that you have put the human first before the work, and that is very, very important. So please, in applying empathy, listen beyond the words that people are saying. Listen to their tone, listen to their body language. Avoid quick judgment. You don't know. I mean, I used to say this, that everyone you meet in life has untold stories that makes them to live life differently. I say that again. Everyone you have meet or you have met in life, we all have untold stories that makes us to live life differently. So sometimes you don't know our story. I don't know your story. You don't know my story. So can we just be kind sometimes? Can we just be kind and be very cautious about judging them? Adapt communication to the person and to the situation. Don't talk over the person, but rather adapt your communication to the person and the situation. And that's what we mean by social skills. We've discussed this extensively, which is the ability to manage relationships and build network. Turn trust into influence, and it helps to navigate conflict, and it drives the team's results. If you are able to build relationship will build trust will build influence, and influence will help to definitely drive the team's results. So build rapport intentionally with people. Don't say, no, I'm not going to build. Yes, not everyone, and I must acknowledge this here, not everyone is good at building relationship with people. But I'm saying it to you here, we have to. It's important that you build relationship with people, not with everyone, but with people. It's very important that you build that. Give and also receive feedback well. See what I've just said? Give feedback well and also receive feedback. A lot of times when people give us feedback, we do what we call selective listening. We are only listening to the feedback they are giving to us, and we're not listening to what they are not saying. Rather, we are focusing on what they are saying, right? And resolve conflict respectfully. These are elements of what? Of social skills. So, like I always say, and like this quote says, people may forget what you have said, but they will never forget how you make them feel and how you have worked with them. I repeat again, people may forget what you have said, but they will never forget how you make them feel and how you have worked with them. Yes, I hope that, yes, we've learned one or two things from this conversation here today, and it's been an amazing time with us in all of our conversations. I will now hand over to Ademide, who I'm sure will further moderate this session in terms of our questions, feedback that we might have on this session. Over to you, Ademide.
Oh my God, that's such a powerful one. Thank you so much, Mr. Adebayo. Thank you. I love how you drew down the conversation from explaining emotions. And I'll just, run through how, some of the things that you mentioned. You mentioned anchor, the TTFR, down to empathy, self-regulation, self-awareness, then empathy and social, skills. And I would say I've learned a lot. And for our participants, if you also learned something, please just drop just one thing, one single thing that you learned from this session, one single thing, whether it's from awareness, it's from regulation, or even from the stories that you have shared, or from the feedback that people always remember. Just drop one thing that you remember. Managing your boss, amazing. Yes, I love that conversation of managing people, ahead of you, like your bosses and people on your level as well, your peers and and then even people below, because this three cadres, you always find yourself amidst all of them, and the ability to manage them is very important, and be able to put yourself in their shoes. And that's that part where you explained reading your boss's emotions and knowing when to have certain conversation. I think that's one thing that I took out from all of this is really important. And I believe that you've also learned. I can see some people dropping their okay, what they've learned. Yeah, I'm just seeing one person. I want to see more. Okay, managing the people around you exactly is very insightful. And it cut across even, being at work and even within your peers, within your friends, within your family members, because emotional intelligence is something that you get to apply everywhere, not just in the workplace, not just in the workplace. And I'm so glad that we're able to talk about this and for, you know, social skills as well. So I'm going to take questions. If you'd have any question, I think I dropped it in the chat box earlier. If you have questions, please drop it in the chat box. Or if you want to, speak, you can let me just raise your hand, then I'll allow you to unmute. Then you can now speak. And I love the question Monica answered earlier. And also I love, our facilitators answered that. It really drove me home and, bring clarity to that. But I have one question. I've got to talk about emotional intelligence with people even before today. And some people say, when I tell them, especially in empathy, when you tell them, oh, you could have been more softer, you could have, put yourself in this person's shoes, be more kind and everything, they feel like, okay, it makes them look weak or soft. It makes them look like they don't know what they're doing or they are too kind. And in the workplace, you shouldn't be too kind because everybody's just here to do their job. There's that notion. So I'd like to ask you, what's your stand on this? Do you think that is their right, or do you think that there's a place of empathy and not necessarily
Adebayo, I'm not sure we got that very well. Do you want to take that again?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Please go
Okay,
ahead.
so my question is, some people say that being empathetic make them look soft in the workplace or being too kind. And I want to get it. Should they be empathetic, or at what level, or how do you manage to be empathetic at the workplace? Because people feel like, oh, it's the workplace, everybody's here to work, and there's no point to be overly nice or overly caring, with certain people, with certain things. What do you think is the balance as to not, or is it true that being empathetic make people look soft or weak?
Perfect. I mean, very great question you have asked there. And I'm sure there is somebody on this call that was also having that conversation with her this morning. I mean, we're just having that conversation this morning about
interesting.
about that. Should leaders be feared? And I'm going to take this from a leadership standpoint. Should leaders be feared or loved? So I will probably paint that love from that leader who is always kind, who is always very empathetic and all of that. And that leader who always believe, oh, bah, 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 always authoritative, always shouting, always this, very toxic and all of those things, right? And for me, and this is my own personal opinion, especially in the context, in this particular context which I've asked, is finding the balance. I'm a strong believer of finding that balance between you could set boundaries. In the words of Monica, you could be firm, and at the same time, you could also empathize with people. Empathy is key. It's going to it's okay. Let's even use the scenario of what I said earlier about the lady who had a crisis in the bank and all of that. So remember, I said that the job might still need to go on. I mean, we can't take away the fact that we're all here to get the job done. That's the number one thing. But you're going to get the job done through people. Remember when I defined the word leadership, I said your job as a leader is not to even get the job done, but to get the job done through people. So you are responsible for people. Now, the people that you are managing, they are people with emotions, with feelings. I've heard bosses say, please drop your problems at the entrance before you come into the office. Can easily drop at the doorstep or at the gates of the office, and then when I'm going home, I'm going to pick it up again. I don't think so. I don't think that problems are baggages. So because you need to get the job done, but you need to get the job done through people, and that is where empathy comes in. So empathy does not make you weak at all. Empathy, rather, what makes you to do is to have superior influence on people. So I am going to be kind. I am going to understand you. I am going to feel what you're feeling first before I make you to feel what I want to feel. So take, for example, that guy who is called Abraham in your workplace, right? Abraham is a very energetic guy, very fun-loving, good guy, always on the goal, always moving, always talking, very fun-loving guy. But on this particular day, you notice that Abraham was weak, wasn't so joyful, wasn't so engaging. It's your job as a leader to engage with Abraham. Hey, Abraham, I've noticed in the last 1 or 2 days you've been very cold. Is there something you want to share with me? Like I said, the first response you're going to get from them is there's nothing. But it's now your job to go further. To say, hey, please talk to me. You can always pray. And then you'll be very shocked what you're going to hear from Abraham. You're going to hear a lot of things. And mostly it's either personal things or work-related things. And then you're going to share with them. And then you give those good words to them. I mean, that's why we call you the leader. You should give those comfort. Even as colleagues, you want people to leave you better than the way they met you, right? So you're going to give those soothing words to them, and give some words of comfort to them, make them feel good, make them happy, just provide solutions when necessary to them. And this is very, very important for you. Now, when you're done with that conversation with Abraham, that doesn't take the fact that in the next 1 hour or 2 hours, if there is a job to do and you have actually had that conversation with Abraham and he has the capacity to be able to do it, that you're not going to have the conversation with Abraham around it. You're definitely going to have the conversation. Say, hey, Abraham, remember we have something to do. Is this something you can do right now? Can we close out on this? But like I said earlier, what you have done in that conversation is that you have put Abraham first before the work. That's what you have done. And that's exactly what empathy is. So I will summarize by saying that empathy doesn't make you weak. It makes you to build trust. It strengthens the relationship you have with people, and it fosters collaboration and even influence that you are going to have on the people that you're actually working with. So Ademida, I don't know if that answers your question well.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for that. Yes, it doesn't make you feel weak. And love how you rounded it up. It needs empathy and influence and all of that. Thank you so much for that. So if you have questions, we're closing round up very soon.
Up.
So please drop your question in the chat box so that, okay, someone hands up. Okay, I'll take your question. Adebayo, you can unmute now and let's hear from you.
Okay, so I don't really have a question, just a contribution to what Mr. Adebayo shared based on your question. And my answer, or would I say my contribution, would be from a standpoint of a team member, not a team leader. And I agree with what Mr. Adebayo said about that being empathetic doesn't make you weak, because I'm working in a community pharmacy setting, and our superintendent pharmacist, this particular superintendent pharmacist, rather, she is emotionally intelligent, she's empathetic, and as a team member, it's easier to reach out to her for, advice, things to do when there is mistake or like little mishaps of things, problems, literally. It's easier to reach out to her because she's emotionally available, she's easy to talk to, she'll give you premium solutions, and all the while she's still maintaining her leadership standpoint. So I agree with Mr. Adebayo that being empathetic does not make you weak. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adidoro. Yes. I think I've also experienced that. So having a leader that is empathetic, and it makes you feel seen. So you can even, talk. You can even talk to them about things that are beyond the workplace, and it even makes the work feel smoother. Imagine going to resuming it to a job that your boss is does not even have any empathy, just uptight. The job will not even be interesting to do. So I have another question in the chat box, then I'll come back to Sharon. So this person says, this is Sharon Joseph. My question, I know a person, in fact, HR manager, that doesn't practice this AI despite knowing what AI means. AI means, in fact, she works in a firm that gives trainings on AI. Sometimes people don't preach, or they don't teach, or they don't do what they preach, rather. How do you make them understand that they are not practicing AI for a thing? Imagine a new staff resigned just 3 to 4 months into the office. The lady seems to have small anger issues. Okay, so our facilitator, you have a question.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Shiv. Again, we're all students of emotional intelligence. I think I started this session by sharing with you somebody who has been to Harvard, who has been to MIT, who has been to all of the best business schools in the world. So you could sit on emotional intelligence. You could even train on emotional intelligence, and then you could still not practice emotional intelligence. I don't know if you have heard this joke before, and this is a very funny one. There was this joke. I don't know if it was real, but I don't know if it's real or not. But there was this joke around a trainer that was engaged to come train people on emotional intelligence, right? And then on emotional intelligence, the 2 days emotional intelligence course, and the facilitator got to the class. He came with one of his subordinates, like an assistant, and right there before the class started, he was so angry, shouting on the assistant, that he actually even slapped the assistant right there before the class started, right? And then after the scenario, some of the participants witnessed what happened. And then the next thing say, "Good morning, everyone. Welcome to emotional intelligence class." Please, if you were in that class, what are you going to do? Please jump into the chat box for me. If you were in that class, what exactly are you going to do immediately? If you're going to shout out, I'm going to run away. Of course, you're just going to leave. I just witnessed you shout and slap one of your executive assistants, and then you come in and you say, "Good morning, we're about to discuss emotional intelligence." Of course, you are leaving the class immediately. So I completely understand you. Same thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave the class. But what am I sharing this with you is to say we're all students of emotional intelligence. That you know it, that you teach it, does not mean that you're going to practice it. But one thing I think that has helped a lot of people is the awareness, and I think it's very, very important. And the question, going back to the question you asked, how can you even do this? Again, I go back to that conversation around relationship because I've been there before. I've been there, and I don't know if anybody here has been in a situation where you had to correct your boss. I have been there before. I've done it as an employee where I had to correct my boss. And it wasn't so easy, but it was based on my level of relationship with him, where I literally told my boss, "Oga, people are complaining that you are shouting." And honestly, for the very first time, it was like, "Oh, so sorry. That's actually my voice pitch. My voice pitch is actually very loud and all of that, and blah, 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 blah." And I just said, but this is how people feel. And I gave him the feedback. And guess what? Again, because of relationship, this is a boss that, he was a GM, I was a team lead in that organization. So there was still a BM and there was an assistant GM. So that means it's like two, 3 levels away from me. But imagine that my level of relationship with a GM so that I could have that effrontery, in quotes, to give him such feedback. But I gave him the feedback. And guess what? After meetings, he would come to me and say, "Hey, Bayo, what do you think? Did I again or not?" And I said, "Oh, no. Today was very fine. It was spot on. People enjoyed the conversation and all of that." So what am I trying to say here? Hey, hi, Sheun. If you know you have such sort of level of relationship with that boss, with that HR manager, all right? If you know you have that relationship with him, you could have the conversation with him or her, if you know you have that relationship with them. If not, you could speak to higher authority, right, about it. Higher authority that you also trust. Please, this is actually very practical practical response that I'm giving to you. Higher authority that you trust and you also have relationship with, maybe the CEO, maybe someone, maybe your ED, someone that you have relationship with, and when you are going to have that conversation, please make sure that your feedback is constructive and not personal. And what is the difference between constructive and personal? Is that you are going to focus more on the effects of whatever you have labeled or the label you have given to her. You are going to discuss about the effect of that on the team and also the effect that could have on the organization. So those are the two things. You're not going to focus on her. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. Not at all. That won't be the right approach to go about the conversation. But rather, the approach will be very constructive. So, hey, hi, this is what we have noticed. This is the effect it's having on the team. And this is also the effect it might also have also on the organization. In the age of social media, your organization could be trending in the next 1 minute. So if an ex-employee should go around and just write about that same HR, your organization can be trending rather on Twitter, on X rather, on any platform, on any social media platform. So these are some sort of consequences you want to give to that higher authority who can then have that conversation with her if you don't have that relationship with her. That would be my response to that question.
Thank you so much, Adebayo. That was so apt. And I also like to say that please listen to what Adebayo has said. If you have a relationship, whether you have a relationship with her or a senior colleague, your feedback should be constructive. Because I feel like that's where some, young people, or should I say people that are not, there at that level, make mistakes most times. They do not have, try to, as much as you want to give that feedback, let your feedback be constructive so that it doesn't feel like, oh, this person, you've said that, she doesn't have emotional intelligence. So you now put emotional intelligence into play while you're giving that your feedback. Thank you so much. So before I call Sharon, I want to let you know that there is a feedback form in the chat box. You have to fill it. When you fill it, you get your certificate. Yes, we have a certificate for you. Clap for us, we're doing well. You're welcome. And also, it's been a beautiful, thank you, Sheo, thank you. Thank you, Sharon, thank you. It's been a beautiful session, and I love the contributions that everyone has given. And we would love to have you. Oh, Sheo has another question. Sheo, just hold on. Sorry. We'd love to have you in our community. So we have a community. The link is also in the chat box. Please join so that you get to know when our next webinar is coming up. We also share several learning opportunities and, short learnings too as well that you can for your professional and even for your personal life. So we'd love you to join. So the links are in the chat box. Please check and join. Thank you. So now let's have Sharon. Sharon, you can unmute.
Hi.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed listening to you talk about emotional intelligence. My question is, imagine if you're maybe you just started working somewhere and the culture of that workplace doesn't necessarily support practicing empathy. It's like everybody's every man for himself, that kind of thing. How do you ensure that? Because I mean, you need to make money. Maybe you can't necessarily quit your job or something like that. How do you ensure that kind of culture doesn't stay with you in a situation whereby you go somewhere else and you don't end up being that type of person that nobody wants to have a good relationship with in work, but you're actually coming from a place that, I don't know, maybe I should say toxic work culture or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. I think I will bring Ademide very soon into this conversation because I know she put up a post recently about this conversation around, how toxicity that you have learned or you were groomed in a particular environment can affect you when you go into another organization. But here is my response to this. To your question. You see, in any environment, in fact, the research is still going on, and I'm following keenly on that research work. And the research is that, let's bring it home here. Have you noticed that it is much more easier for a negative person to influence a positive person than for a positive person to influence a negative person. It's much more easier. And there's this study, I've forgotten the institute that did that study. They had 20 people in the room, and then they brought in they had 20 positive people in the room, right? And then they brought in one negative person. And guess what happened? In about few minutes or thereabout, camera was set in the room, and in about few minutes, the people were actually positive. The energy started going down. The energy started draining, right? And then they changed the entire profile of the people or the persons also in the room. And they brought in 20 negative people and they brought in one positive person. It literally took almost an entire day for like 2 to 3 of those 20 persons to even respond to the positive person. And I'm sure you probably understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to say that if you're in an environment that does not support such level of empathy, right, where it's firefighting, where everybody is on their toes, everybody, it's very competitive environment, it's get the go and all of those things. And you know so well that your personality as an individual is not wired for such environments. I get the point very well, and I'm very sure you put that caveat there that, especially in a place where you don't have another alternative, and then you still have to keep on with that. But I would say while you are on that, start looking somewhere else aggressively. Because over time, if you are not very careful and very intentional, you are most likely going to be those persons. And psychology has proven it. In the world of psychology, we usually say that it takes about 60 to 254 days to change a personality. You know what that means? That means a place where you actively go to every day, 9 to 5. In about 9 months, according to that calculation of 254 days, in about 9 months to 10 months, you are unconsciously going to inherit the leadership style, the behavior, the culture of the people in that organization. If you are not intentional, but if you are intentional, it's possible that yes, you might not say, I'm not going to be. And I've been there before. I've been in a situation where I've trained senior leaders and then they will say, hey, Bayo, when I joined this organization about 19 years ago, I literally would always cry when my boss would shout at me. But guess what? I'm in the same position right now in a position of authority, and I'm also shouting. He said, in fact, sometimes after doing it, he goes back to his seat and he asks himself, was that necessary? Why did I just shout? Because it's an environment where you spend your active hours and you're unconsciously going to inherit the leadership style, the culture of that environment. It's unconscious learning, because the only thing you are going to learn is that this is the only right way to do things. This is the only right way to get results. That is going to be what is going to be part of you. So if you know that you personally, but let me tell you again, there are some organizations that by their culture, they are wired that way to behave that way. I want you to go and read a book on Netflix. When Netflix started, the culture was meant as what we call toxic, right? But it was necessary because they were coming to a space where they needed to beat their competitors. So they needed people who are naturally competitive by their mindset, because they were ready to get out, what's their name, blockbuster out of the way. So the culture there, I don't know about the culture now in Netflix, but at then, when Netflix started, the culture was that we want to take out blockbuster. In getting out blockbuster, who was dominating the world? We needed people who are highly competitive by personality and the mindset. So they went for people like that. So that's why I said, by your own personality, Sharon, it might be that you are not built for such environment. If you are Is Adebayo here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I lost you for a bit.
Okay.
And I like to say thank you so much. I think you got the answer right out of my mouth. Thank you. And for Sharon, do you see that? I don't know if you guys have seen it as I'm seeing it. This is a masterclass for you. This is, there's so much knowledge has been passed down. And this brought me back to the beginning when we start from emotional intelligence. And then the first thing that you mentioned was self-awareness. You mentioned how, self-regulation is one thing that is key to you. I think for me, self-awareness, because see Sharon saying, oh, wow, you probably don't know how much impact that workforce would have on you if you have not heard this today. But hearing that, if you stay there long enough, you become just like them is, and brought a level of awareness, and now you can act on it. Maybe you've been thinking, okay, I'll just stay here for a while, but now you know that, okay, if this is what I am, this is what I need to do, this is how I can, get out of this. So we're probably trying to figure out how to get a better job in no time with a better culture, and also you're holding on to what you believe. I would like to say that don't let them destroy your innocence, don't let them destroy who you are. As much as you are in that space, you can still stand for what you believe. And the more you constantly do it, the better you become. Even though it's against what is already against the culture, but if you constantly stay on that, you're constantly expressing that empathy, somehow, or should I say, they will not be able to, take that away from you. I would not want to take any other question today because it's been a long one. But I know that someone else has a question. I think I saw that in the chat, but I would like to say that when you join the community, you can drop your question and then definitely going to get an answer to it. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, Adebayo. This has been a masterclass. Again, it's a full-blown training. Not even a webinar. So thank you so much. Don't forget to fill the feedback form so you can get your certificate and join our hub and knowledge hub, which is a community. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Adebayo. I want to see everybody saying thank you to Adebayo. It's been such a wonderful time. So I want to see your thank you, whether by reactions or chat. I want to see your thank you. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. I can see your thank you. But I'm really grateful. Thank you, Adebayo, for having us today. Thank you for sharing. So we've come to the end of this session. I'll see you in the next webinar.